Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today with a card featuring new March 2020 release stamps and dies from Mama Elephant. I am using the new Zodiac Horse stamps and coordinating dies as well as the brand new 6-window cover to create this really fun punny anniversary card that says Happy I can't even say it now, A-NEIGH-VERSARY. I think it's so cute and fun. I'm going to start by stamping my images I'm going to use for my card on some scraps of Nina Smooth White cardstock using an ink for Copic coloring. This is the Hero Arts Intensified Black ink. Then I'm going to simply color in all of my horses with some brown markers. I'm using E53, 55, and 57 and 49 for this first horse, but I'm going to switch over and add a little more E50 to the remaining horses. I'm also going to color in the horse balloon with similar colors but a little bit on the lighter side. So we're going to just leave out E57 and 49 for the balloon to give it a little bit of a different look. Otherwise, it's pretty much exactly the same. Then in addition, some of the embellishments included in this stamp set are a top hat that has some holly and berries, so you can definitely do something Christmas related with this if you wanted to, a horseshoe, a blue ribbon, a present, a flower, the heart that I'm using, and some dice. So you have lots of options for creating many different kinds of cards. I am going to stamp multiple hearts for my card. I stamped 3 here, but I am actually going to go back in and stamp another one for my card because I ended up having an extra opening in the 6-window cover and it just needed a little something, and I didn't really want to include something completely different than what I've already done here, and so another heart was the perfect answer. I'm just adding all of my shading here and all of my coloring. I am coloring quite a few of the images here on camera, but I will color the remaining ones off camera since everything is very similar and to save a little bit of time as far as constructing the card. These images are part of the whole Zodiac collection from Mama Elephant. So far this year, they have released a couple of new sets each month, and it's really fun to see what animals are going to be included every month, and I have plans to maybe mix and match some of these Zodiac animals in some future projects. So please leave me a note and let me know if that's something that you would like to see in the future. I think that while their name says Zodiac animals, and so they definitely feature a lot of those kind of characteristics and maybe symbols and things, you can use them for lots of different cards. I love the little chubby round nature of these. They kind of almost remind me of like when my kids were little, they loved the Fisher-Price Little People and then the little barn and animals. For whatever reason, a lot of the faces really remind me of that, and so I think they're just super adorable and fun. Once I have all of my shading and coloring finished, I will be die cutting that 6-window cover from some Hero Hues cherry cardstock. I purposely went with a red because I wanted it to kind of be like a barn. I know it's not a barn. There's actually a house cover die from Mama Elephant that would be cute used that way if you wanted to, but I really wanted to use a new product. I am such a huge fan of their window cover dies, and I love, one of the things I love the most about this particular cover die is that the circles are not perfect. So they're going to be just something different than what we've seen before, and I think that that's really fun. I'm going to flip it over onto this stencil from Honeybee Stamps. This is a SHIPLAP stencil, and we're actually going to stencil some white pigment ink on this cover die to kind of give it like the siding of a barn was my thinking. So I'm kind of just pouncing on my ink I'm using a foam tool. I have this foam tool. I've used it for a long time for doing this particular technique, and so I am just going to kind of pounce that white ink all over this, and it's so hard to see through the stencil, especially when doing white, but when I lift this up, I'm going to have some great little white shiplap kind of looking stripes here. And it adds a little something to the background. We're going to be placing this over a piece of slate gray cardstock. I purposely went with something a different color to really offset the red of this and then to really showcase the Zodiac horse images. I'm going to use some wire snips scissors to trim apart my dies, tape them in place with a little low tack tape, and then run them through my die cutting machine. I always love to use a pair of snips as it's much easier to cut through all of those little tabs and things. One thing I am going to do then, because this is a fairly simple designed card, there's not a ton of layers, I guess I want to say. I want to add depth and dimension, and my very favorite way to add depth and dimension is with foam adhesive. And I'm going to be backing that entire 6 window cover with foam adhesive, as well as adhering the horse images with foam adhesive and the heart. We will also be adding a sentiment with that as well. The happy anniversary sentiment is going to be stamped on the slate gray cardstock with a clear embossing ink and then heat emboss with white embossing powder before being die cut into a strip that we can then adhere anywhere to the card that we want. I've laid out my images after I got them die cut. That gives me a really good idea of kind of how everything's going to come together, where everything's going to go, and before I commit to adhering it. Then I'm simply flipping over my 6 window cover and I am framing it out with some thin foam adhesive strips. These are not super high, so it will give a little dimension without a ton of bulk. These are probably my favorite adhesive strips. And I just kind of want to frame the whole thing so it's nice and sturdy. And then we're going to adhere it right over that slate gray cardstock. So once we have it all framed out, we're just going to peel off the backing paper from everything and pop it in place. And all we have left is adhering our cute little images, sentiment, and adding those finishing touches of embellishment, which is always one of my very favorite little things to do to finish off a card. So here is our kind of quote-unquote barn. Now, if any images aren't going to go or fit really well, I like to kind of tuck them into the window. I just like to trim off the feet. You're never going to know that you did. I didn't do it for all of them, but for a couple of the images I needed to do that. And then as I'm adhering them, I'm taking a black gel pen and adding detail to the eyes and nostrils. I always feel that adding that face detail brings these critters to life. We've got a couple of the cute little hearts here. And then I did use the coordinating dies with the Zodiac horse for the front legs in all of the Zodiac animal sets. There are some little paws or legs, whatever the critter might be, dies, and they look kind of funky. They are so you can decide if you want to use them with a critter or not, so that they can hold on to some of those accessory images that come in the stamp set. And in this case, I wanted the horse in the bottom right corner to be holding one of those hearts. So I used the dies to die cut his hooves, and then I'm going to tuck the heart in place before I pop him into the card. Now in that second row, or the middle row on the left, that's where I didn't have an embellishment and I really felt like I needed something here. So I went ahead and stamped and colored an additional heart that I'm going to put into this little opening. The happy anniversary sentiment was also popped up with foam adhesive to give it a bit of dimension. Glossy accents was added to the hearts. When this dries, it's going to give it a great glossy finish that's so perfect for this card design. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this anniversary card featuring the new Mama Elephant Zodiac Horse stamps and dies, as well as the 6-window cover. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.